a move to stop illegal beach vending, support for the police force's fight against crime, and in sports, glory again for the region in the World Championships.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the CBC Evening News. The National Conservation Commission is getting tough with illegal beach vendors. In an exclusive interview with CBC News, Chairman of the NCC, Tyrone Lowe, urged offenders to get the required license or face the consequences. He says about half of the 200 registered vendors have been reissued licenses, but more people must come forward.
If you haven't heard from us yet, and you are on the beach selling, you need to come and get it regularized, because there will be a cutoff point, perhaps the middle also of September, and we're going to get tough with those persons who persist in illegal vending on a beach. We want to maintain minimum standards, and our standards will expose the delinquents, and we're going to get rid of them forcibly.
Well, meantime, the National Conservation Commission has pledged to do all within its power to rid the beaches across Barbados of the sargassum seaweed. Led by Chairman Tyrone Lowe, the NCC will launch a major cleanup campaign next week.
The National Conservation Commission will deploy close to 500 general workers to beaches stretching from Rockley to right here at Long Beach in Christchurch. It's all in an effort to rid the beaches of this pest, the sargassum seaweed. Chairman Tyrone Lowe says the effort will begin next week Wednesday and starts at 7. He says it's vital that we protect our tourism product.
When you consider Hastings down to Long Beach, that is considered a prominent area of the tourist belt. And we have been having complaints from hoteliers of tourists who they can't swim. It's the ugly sight of the seaweed. And if our tourist industry is affected, my friends, you could perhaps do the calculation of the negative image, the loss of jobs, loss of good reputation, and we, as a very fragile economy, can't allow this to carry on.
Finding ways to stop the seaweed from coming ashore may also be a challenge.
And that itself will be a costly exercise, and perhaps we have to look at someone like the American government or so for support in that regard. We've been exploring the possibility of equipment to see if we could minimize the manual aspect of things. That alone is expensive. So it has indeed brought about some introspection, and at a time when it's hard international recession.
Large deposits of the seaweed have been spotted in areas like Bathsheba and Skeets Bay. However, Deputy General Manager Michael Thompson says the greatest challenge is at River Bay in St. Lucie, where the rugged terrain has only allowed for manual cleanup of the site. Chairman Tyrone Lowe says the NCC welcomes any individual who wants to use the seaweed for other purposes.
Already, I know some people have been using the seaweed to allegedly control the African snails. I hope that's true, because I would be happy to deliver some to people's homes if we think that this could help erase the African snail. But right now, we're going to be keeping it mostly on the back beach, on the higher ground, so as to clear where people would walk and bathe.
The public is being advised that due to the large number of NCC personnel involved in the cleanup operation on September 7th, normal service at some beaches will be affected. That means they will be without lifeguards and NCC rangers. Damien Best, CBC News.
About 500 more Barbadians across the island will soon be able to buy land at $5 a square foot. The disclosure from Housing Minister Michael Lashley at the official opening of the 3-day inaugural Home Expo show at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. Mr. Lashley says this will help shorten the long waiting list at the NHC for land. He's also revealed that people have started to occupy the government-constructed units in the city.
They've started to move in at Treeside Road in St. Michael. And I believe too at this very moment we have some persons who are going over the country road and inspecting their premises, and of course they are living their dream of owning a piece of this rock, be it a rental unit or a standalone house. I must also report to you in relation to land. Another 500 Barbadians will soon be able to purchase lots at $5 a square foot in the parishes of St. John, St. Thomas, St. Philip, St. Joseph, St. George, and St. Lucie.
Mr. Lashley says government will also be taking steps to ensure that contractors working on government projects maintain high standards.
Very shortly, the National Housing Corporation, hopefully in association with the Small Business Association, will host the first ever all-day seminar with all the small contractors employed at Lancaster 1 and 2, at Parish Land in St. Philip, and those to be employed at Riverview in St. Philip. This seminar will involve experts in the construction industry, specialists in the management of small business, and experts in finance. We hope to offer guidance to the small contractors in the management of their resources and to ensure that they continue the high level of quality of work that they are displaying currently at our sites.
A leading trade unionist is predicting that the National Productivity Council will play a major role in the future development of Barbados. Deputy General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Bobby Morris, says that institution is going to be a leader in the Caribbean. He was speaking on the topic, the current industrial relations environment, during the Democratic Labour Party's weekly lunchtime lecture. Mr. Morris says the role of the Productivity Council has to be sharpened, but this depends significantly on getting the support of the trade unions.
Every time you look at the competitiveness index, the report from Barbados is that we are not doing well in terms of work ethics and other areas. This is a no-no for people to talk about, especially trade unionists. It is a fact that we have to deal with that. And we have to deal with it seriously if we are talking about going to first world status and to take Barbados, where our grandchildren can be relatively satisfied that they will still be able to enjoy the standard of living that we enjoy now. It's going to be based on competitiveness and productivity.
Mr. Morris has also questioned what is happening with the much talked about public sector reform. According to him, it is more than just getting things done quickly.
Given the centrality of the public service to the future of Barbados, it's essential that the legal and regulatory framework governing industrial relations in that area be put under closer scrutiny. The regime that governs those who fall under the Public Service Commission has to be codified, rationalizing the new Public Service Act with the general orders. Looking at all of those directives and so on that have been given by the cabinet, put them together in the body. Bring the pensions legislation and exit. So there should be somewhere you can go and look at. This is the regulatory framework for the public service.
Many middle and senior managers in the public service feel powerless to make any decisions, and this is affecting operations. This is the view of senior economist with the Productivity Council, Olivia Chase. In a presentation which forms part of the Barbados Fire Service's 50th anniversary celebrations, Ms. Chase said bureaucracy is largely to blame for some of the problems in the system.
There's a bit more bureaucracy, there's a bit more ranking in the public sector that makes decision making and effecting decisions even more difficult. We can't make a decision, we must relay the information to our supervisor. Exactly. And it goes up the ranks, or perhaps that supervisor is out on vacation for 2 weeks, so that decision is not made for 2 or 3 weeks. Is that the most effective way to run the public sector? I think not.
Ms. Chase says training is another issue that needs to be re-examined.
After you've done training, there must be an assessment of the training. But that's not always done. People go to training, come back on the job. There is no question asked of how has your knowledge improved, what have you learned. So we talk about what are the learning points and how are you able to apply these learning points to the organization. That isn't done.
The Royal Barbados Police Force is playing its part in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Today, the force launched its HIV program during a ceremony at its sports club at Weymouth. Commissioner of Police Darwin Doughton said the program is critical to law enforcement agencies, and he said they plan to draw on several findings from national agencies dealing with HIV and AIDS.
Later in the year, I think it's in October and November,
We'll have some intense lectures and so on for members of the force. And so it's an initiative that seeks to sensitize members of the force on this issue. It goes along with our health and wellness program because we recognize that police officers are more than people who carry out an official function of enforcing the law. They have a personal life, and we are trying to work on the work and family life balance that has to be struck.
The top cop added that the local police program will also be looking at the various papers being released by UNAIDS. Mr. Doughton said he was impressed with some of the programs already being undertaken by police in other jurisdictions, including Sub-Sahara Africa.
I noticed that most of the police forces in that region have well-developed programs for sensitization of their members. And so even at this stage, I think that we can benefit from what they have done, the programs that they have introduced.
And the Royal Barbados Police Force is getting positive reviews for its handle on the crime situation in Barbados. It's coming from the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, or CETUSAB. General Secretary Dennis DePisa, however, stressed that CETUSAB is concerned about the possible fallout from the crime levels, which he pointed out had the potential to negatively impact on the already ailing economy of the island. Ron Brathwaite has more.
As sectors within the economy struggle to register marginal growth in these tough economic times, tourism arrival figures disclosed by Minister Richard Seeley shows some steady improvement in the local industry, with just over 365,000 visitors having come to the island at the end of August, a feat pretty much welcomed by government, even as it joins its CARICOM counterparts in battling a recent wave of crime and violence which has reportedly swept across the region. General Secretary of CETUSAB, Dennis DePisa, says the tourist industry is our main engine driver and must be protected at all costs, as it is not exempted from any impacts of this rising crime spree. As a matter of fact, Mr. DePisa said any gains attained could easily be wiped out as a direct consequence of the heightened media coverage of crime. He highly commended the work of the Royal Barbados Police Force in apprehending individuals who are alleged perpetrators of these violent crimes and heinous acts, noting that the swift action of the police in making arrests brought a measure of reassurance to the public of Barbados and confirmed the island on the world scene as a safe destination. Ron Brathwaite, CBC News.
Lawmen in Barbados continue to move against drug pushers in the country. During an operation yesterday conducted by the police drug squad, 10 cannabis plants up to 7 feet tall were seized in a bushy area at Seaview in St. James. A second operation was conducted by members of the drug squad and facilitated by the Marine Unit, where 466 cannabis plants up to about 10 feet tall were seized at Springfield Plantation over in St. Joseph.